Hello everyone, welcome to another video in which we review a human case of a patient. She is Amanda Wheaton, 23 years old, 5'7" or 170 centimeters, 120 pounds or 54.5 kilograms. Then the reason for encounter is fever and sore throat. Now the reason for encounter is what guides us and what we use to go over the case, because everything revolves around it. And then we also have to know that the reason for encounter is always just a symptom. And for you to make the right diagnosis, you need more than one symptom, because most of these symptoms are always common to more than one disease. So you start by going over the patient history, and under history, you ask some questions that help you either get more symptoms or more information that you can use to get the right diagnosis. Now, under history, there are several ways, three to be specific, ways that you can use to get the right questions to ask. For one, the first one is you can use this search button to just type in the question that you want. You can also use this microphone to speak by asking the question that you need. Or the third option is going through all of these actions and getting the right question that you need to ask. Just going to be checking each of them to look at the relevant question to the patient. Now, my favorite one is always I like to use the search button. And one thing you need to know under history, under these questions, is there are questions that are very common and apply to all, nearly all patients. Now, for a start, you always have to ask the question, how now, these are a common question that you start with, and you have to ask it to all patients in human cases. Now, you can see the first one here, which I already asked. That's why it's in bracket previously asked. Now, this case had already been handled, so I'm just going over it to help you get a guideline on how to handle human cases. Now, since I had done it already, we can just go to see the feedbacks, and as you can see, the green means this the question asked, and then if there is any X, it means the question that was supposed to be asked but were never asked. Now you can see I started it. As I was saying, it was my first question. It is always my first question. How can I help you today? Then the second question was, do you have chills? Then the third one was, do you have a cough? Now these two questions, and then maybe the fourth one is, have you been having fevers? Now these questions are specific to the next three after the first one. The second, the fourth questions are very specific to this case. Remember, the patient has a fever and sore throat. So chills and cough are those are maybe some of other symptoms that are tied to a sore throat, or we expect with a patient who's having a sore throat, then have you been having fevers? Yes, you have to ask that, because the patient might have stated it, but maybe it was just a one-time thing. But now, if you ask if she's been having fevers, that means you need to know if it has been ongoing for long, or it was just a one-time um, incident. Now, as for feedback, you can see this. The green means the X means the question that I did not ask. Now, these are the questions that I asked. Now, like I already said, that there are some questions that are very common and have to be asked nearly any patient. So like this one, are you sexually active? Now you have to answer that. It is a common question. Do you have any problems with fatigue? Is also a common one. Do you have problems with the headache that don't go away with the aspirin or Tylenol? Is also a very common question. Do you experience chest pain? That's also common. So once you ask those questions, you have to check your feedback to see if you're on the right track. And then once you're done with the questioning, you move to physical exam. Again, under physical exam, you can use this search button to search for the right exams to carry out, but common. They are common. Most of these physical exams are always very common to nearly all patients. For example, you have to ask about the cognitive status, height, weight, blood pressure, pulse, respiration, temperature. These are very common to nearly all students. And then once you're done with that, with the right test, not only the ones I said, these are common ones, but the others you have to also carry out like the skin, heart, um, ears, eyes. Those are also common, but may be specific to particular patients. Now, once you're done with that, you can just check the feedback, and then you can see um, as per the feedback, these are the ones I performed correctly. I escalated the heart, blood pressure, I evaluated the neck range of motion, I examined pupils, I inspected the eyes. Yes, all these I did. And then the others that I did that were not required, like the height, weight, cognitive status. Yeah, they are common, so maybe I might have just done them because they are common, but I was not supposed to do them. And then there are others that I missed, like I did not isolate the carotid arteries. Then I did not isolate the lungs. I was also supposed to look in the eyes with the otoscope. Yeah, so this feedback is meant to guide you, help you know if you are on the right track. And then once you are done with physical exam, you can move to assessment. Now, under assessment, there are always five uh, items you're supposed to carry out. You start by organizing your key findings. Now, if these were, mm, let's say, a live case, or if I was doing it, then under the history section, as under the history, when asking the question, there's always there's always a section. There's always a section somewhere around here where you key in your key findings. You have to list them. Your key findings are specific to patients, so you get them from the response from the patient. So you ask the question, and then you listen or you read the answer, and then you get your key findings. Now back to assessment. So those key findings are the ones you're supposed to organize. And these were my key findings. They were sore throat, mild headaches, and swollen antenna, cervical antenna, cervical lymph nodes, fever, uh, mild headache, and chills. Then uh, odi- odinophagia with no sinus pain. And then you have to compare them to the case findings. So the case findings are sore throat, I had that. Temperature, I also mentioned that. Headache, gender, cervical, all these infectious contact by history, infectious mononucleosis at the age of 15. I didn't have this. So once you have this, this feedback, you compare your findings with the case findings, and then you can read through this feedback to help you know it is very crucial for your next for for your differentials. So once you have organized your key findings, then you have to write your problem statement. This was my problem statement. It is closer to to the case problem statement. So you're also supposed to look at this feedback before moving to the next section where you select your differentials. Now I selected three differentials. One was the correct one. The first one was the correct one. Two extraneous, meaning they are not required, but I missed four. So as per those symptoms, this patient can be suffering from any of these diseases: pharyngitis, COVID-19, influenza, peritonsil abscess, pharyngitis, the viral version. Yes, so after doing that, then you move into ranking differentials. Now I ranked, and then oh, then I missed. I the peritonsil abscess. I think I scored half a mark. I was supposed to. It is a meaning must not miss. It is a requirement, but I missed it. Anyway, I got the rest one, including the pharyngitis, the lead diagnosis. So always state that once you have the lead, the lead differential, that becomes the diagnosis. So in this case, my lead differential was pharyngitis group A, streptococcal. Then once you have this ranking, you select the test that you're supposed to carry out, and then the tests that are required were those four, and I got all of them correct. And then once you've done the test, you wait for the results. And then you can see the results here. And then after the results, you move to a diagnosis. Like I said, your lead diagnosis where under differentials become the correct diagnosis, and then you have a diagnosis. Once you have your diagnosis, you create a plan that suits this patient, including the medications and what we maybe call home remedies, and maybe checkups, um, return visits. Yeah. And then once you have a plan, you submit it. You write your plan under this section, and then after that is just a summary, and you're done with that case. I think that's all, and that's how I handled Amanda Wheaton's case, and that's how you should do it, and maybe including other human cases. I think that's all for this video. Thank you, and have a nice day.